You welcome to the central region of Ghana, Assin Manso slave market, and the riverside. This particular place is a very special place for us because it is a sacred ground. It has its rules and it has its regulations. We don't normally do so many things in here. Everything that you want to do, you just have to ask me for me to tell you if it is right to do or not to do. In the history of the trade, this area was seen as a slave market, okay? But the market is not only limited to this area. It goes all the way to the community. But the reason why this area has been confined is that it served as a slave cemetery within the slave market. So everywhere here is a cemetery, and we are working on graves of our ancestors. Just like we are all Africans, I know you understand when it comes to working on things like that. So we do so many things because we don't want you to come over here and take curses away. We want you to be here and go with blessings. So I'll be telling you things that we could do and things that you cannot do. Now, when you want to learn about the transatlantic slave trade, and you take out Assin Manso from it, then your history is not comprehensive enough. The reason being that Assin, as our name implies, Assin, means persons in transit. So history has it that majority of us that formed this community were some of the captives who managed to escape. But because we did not know how to return to wherever we were captured, we formed part of this community. So in this community, everything that connects to the trade, we don't joke with it. Now, before the coming of the Europeans, some of our chiefs were very egocentric. So they started fighting among themselves in order for them to gain territorial advantages. Now, when my community defeats your people, they do get your men and women to be their prisoners of war. Now, with these prisoners of war, it was their labor that was bought, not their bodies. They had rights, they had privileges, and they were not owned. It was only the chief that could take the life of any enslaved person, provided if that chief could give justification to it. It happened in a village called Isiakwa, when Nana Kwesi Amo, a chief, murdered 3 enslaved persons. This chief was summoned to the House of Chiefs and was questioned on what grounds did he commit such crime. The chief argued that customary law has given him the right to do so, but these people fought against his kingdom, and that is why he has them eliminated. This system of slavery, or the indigenous system that was practiced, is what we call the indentured servitude. It was so different from what was imposed on us by the Caucasians. Now, it all started when the first Europeans arrived in Ghana. They were the Portuguese, and they arrived in here in 1471. And they were led by Prince Henry the Navigator. When the Portuguese came over, previously they were here to trade in gold, diamond, and other resources. But in 1492, that is where supposedly the New World was discovered by Christopher Columbus. And we needed people to work on those in that New World, just for them to develop the New World from the scratch. So one Portuguese priest in the person of Bartolomeo de las Casas This man said, may they buy our people in order to develop the new world. In the discourse of the transatlantic slave trade, slave markets also played an important role because the market was where the two devils meet, the buyers and the sellers. Ghana alone was having over 63 slave markets. With all the 63 markets, two markets have been documented extensively to have played the most important role. We have the Salaga slave market being the largest market at the northern part of Ghana, and Assin Manso in here being the busiest. The busiest because it was closer to the trade dungeons. Many historians have given documentations about Assin Manso and Salaga. We have our very own Professor Akosia Adoma Pebi. She was the head of history at the University of Ghana in a book entitled The History of the Indigenous Slavery in Ghana from the 16th century to the 19th century. We had our very own Professor J.U. Akwanda in his book entitled The Transatlantic Slave Trade, Landmark, Legacies, and Expectations. We have one British historian in his journal entitled The Short History of Ghana. All these historians spoke about Assin Manso and Salaga. In their narration, they gave us the journey that the enslaved Africans have to go through from the north before passing through Assin Manso and ending at the Cape Coast, Fort Amsterdam, and the Elimina dungeons. Captives, mostly prisoners of war that were captured from the upper borders of the country, like some part of Burkina Faso, some part of Ivory Coast. Everywhere you were captured, your first destination was to walk to the Salaga slave market. The Salaga market was harboring those that were coming from the interior. So when you got to the Salaga market, that is where you were given a chance to have a little rest. Given a chance to have something small to eat and something small to drink. The food given you is not just to give you or make you fat or something, no. It is just that they know that the journey from the north to Assin Manso is going to be tough. And they knew that majority of them could not make that journey. So you were given food to eat in order to continue the journey. It is documented that the journey from Salaga to Assin Manso took them 400 miles, which was equivalent to 3 months of a journey. 3 months, if you are a female, all things being equal, you have to go through 3 menstrual cycles. That was how tough their journey was. They were marching through the forest beds of our country. A research, the Slave Route Project, which was started in 1992 and continued in 2005, gave us some of the routes that was taken by the captives. And one of the places that was identified was the Mole National Park. So imagine if you have to be walking in Mole, walking through all these wild animals with the chains and shackles on you. So majority of our brothers and sisters did not survive it. My daddy told me some history, but I don't normally talk about it because it's very painful. From the journey from the top to Assin Manso. She said when they were coming through to Assin Manso, they were in a long queue made up of so many people. Men, women, old, everyone was involved. And when they were coming, the indigenes of every community always tried to fight to save them. But before they could realize, those that came to fight are also part of the caravan. So the women were basically leading the charge for them to be rescued. So the women were just always shouting to call attention of nearby people to support them. So the raiders realized that the women are becoming a threat for them. So they have to know how best to shut them out. So that is when they first used the metallic mask concept on them. With the metallic mask concept, there is a mask that will be put on you. It has a sharp object which is linked into your mouth and screw. So when you screw, you can't speak. When you speak, that sharp object will cut your tongue. And because you don't want your tongue to go off, you have to remain silent till you walk to Assin Manso. Those that were seen as freedom fighters, they called them rebellious. For them, they were beaten at every step of the way because they never wanted leaders to come from the group. Now, the freedom fighters were so scared that the rebels also decided that no, we have to find a way of letting these people go for them to have their freedom. So they told the freedom fighters and those that were bleeding, the ladies, that we're going to let you go. We can't allow you to be part of this group, so we will just let you go. So in letting them go, what was done to them was this. They were all brought out of their chains and shackles. And they were tied around any big tree, every big tree they find in the forest. And they were left behind. So in the minds of the captives, they are hoping that somebody would come and rescue them. But they didn't know it was a plan. Nobody wanted them to go alive. But instead, they were used as bait to negotiate their way through the forest. Because when you're having blood coming all over you and you are chained, this blood will attract wild animals to you. And because the wild animals were targeting everyone, they put those groups in there in order for the animals to feed on them, so that the rest could have their easy passage through the forest. They walked for 380 miles with no food and no water. And they came across a river. When you go to Kumasi, I'm sure you all know the river, the Pura River. When they got to the river, now thinking they would definitely drink, right? Because 380 miles, no, the only way you could eat is to pray that you get some rotten food and pick it with your tool and just eat it. Or you pray that it rains for you to get something small to drink. So you come to the Pura River, a very big river. I'm sure the only thing that they thought was, is Charlie, let's drink from this river. But did you know that none of them drank from the river? The only persons that drank in the river was those that drowned in the river. The river was where their first sorting out took place. When they got to the river, those that were seen not marketable, your journey ends. A cannonball as big as the size of a football is connected to their shackles, and they were thrown in the river. Because most of them were coming from the interior, swimming was not part of their occupation, so swimming was very difficult for them. So majority of the groups died in the Pura River. That is why we, the people of Assin Manso, every 31st day of July, we always go to that river at night to observe a vigil and mourn our ancestors. Because the following day, being the 1st of August, is when we celebrate the emancipation celebration. Now, when they get in Assin Manso here, they were so tired, dirty, and they were like, they're almost 80% gone. Very skin, very thin. So this was where they were properly fed. Broken bottles was used in shaving them, just for them to look attractive. So after the shave, you realize that most of them have blood oozing all over their bodies. In determining of their ages, a device called the speculum oris is used on them. With the speculum oris, it is put into your mouth, open your mouth, count your teeth to forecast your age. After which, they were made to take their last bath in the slave river before going through their first auction and their first branding. those that were not able to continue the journey from here, they are those that are buried right here. But those that continue the journey have to walk 38 miles to the Cape Coast dungeons, 42 miles to Elimina dungeons, and 57 miles to Fort Amsterdam, just to await the slave ship. Now, when they got to the dungeons, they waited for 3 months for the slave ship to arrive. Now, when the slave ship arrived, our forebears were made to walk through an underground tunnel. They went through a particular door before getting on to the slave ship. The name on this door is the door of no return. That door is the most difficult door our ancestors ever crossed. Because right in front, they only saw 3 things. They saw the ocean, they saw the slave ship, and they saw a journey of uncertainty, death. But when they turned back, they've lost everything. They don't even know where their parents are, where their children are. But that door of no return has been with us for the past over 200 years. As Africans as we are, we all know that words are very powerful. Words can have a positive or negative impact on you. So if words are very powerful, why should we hold on or always keep the words that affect us? Because with the door of no return, it's just saying to our brothers and sisters that they're never going to come home. Today, that door of return, of no return, has been changed to the door of return. But the question is, how were we able to change that door? So, how were we able to change the name of that door? And that is where your Professor Yankee was part of the whole group that designed it. Now, in 1996, the then President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings, went to Jamaica and observed them celebrating a festival called the Emancipation Celebration. When they were telling the history, Assin Manso in Ghana wasn't really connected to it. So when Rawlings saw it, Rawlings said, no, we cannot allow them to celebrate this if they were coming from us. Because we also have to have our representation. Because from Jamaica, it is our children. Because Jamaica means Jamaica, perhaps we are stuck. So when the president came over, the president said, we have to celebrate it. But we have to return to our ancestors' home. First, to change the right house on the door of no return and make it the door of return. So a committee was set up in order to have this done. And that is when Professor Yankee also was part of it. So they identified 2 of our ancestors. They wanted a slave. Someone was taken as a slave. And we have to return those slaves home just to change the writings. A male and a female to represent the Americans and the Caribbeans. So, that is why you can see in the graveyard, we have Madame Crystal from Kingston, Jamaica. Samuel Carson from New York, US of A. Madame Crystal was a young, beautiful lady who was captured but landed in Jamaica as a enslaved African. While she was in Jamaica, she was in prison. They thought it was the end of Madame Crystal to fight. But she couldn't because she cannot sit and observe her children dying. So instead, she decided to fight another way by starving herself to death. But during that era, It is one thing that you would never wish to do. Because the punishments that will be meted on you, you cannot stand it. That was when she had a teeth all chiseled out. Yes, it is called a force feeding process. So they take all of it out. They put a funnel in a mouth, add food and squeeze through your throat, just for you to have something to eat. But even after that, the infections that comes with it, you cannot even continue. It is a way of punishing you before you die. But Madame Christa stood firm. We lost Madame Christa in 1830. And the people of Jamaica said they were free from slavery in 1835. Samuel Carson, a slave who was part of the U.S. Navy, joined without any formal education and rose to the top. He was never recognized, and when he died at the age of 35 years, he was buried like an officer, no rank, because he was an African. So on the 31st day of July 1998, the two mortal remains were brought back from Jamaica and the US of A, just to go through the door of no return at the Cape Coast dungeons. The journey from Anamabo to the dungeons it's like a movie. Yeah, it's like a movie. If you are not there, if you don't have videos of it, you would never appreciate it. When they got to Anamabo, the youth of Anamabo have closed the road and they never wanted them to pass through the land. Because they were having soldiers escorting them, the soldiers opened up as usual. They were beating everyone to open up. The youth accepted to open up the road for them to pass. Then after the people went back to their vehicles, none of their vehicles were able to spark. So what is it? So the chief fishermen told them to consult the priest of Anamabo. So they went to the priest and the priest came and told them, you guys are not doing it right. Because our ancestors don't like what you're doing. When you are bringing them home, you have to use the same medium they were taken away. So use the ocean and let them use the ocean to go to the Cape Coast dungeons. Because when they were going back, they used the same ocean. So the youth of Anamabo voluntarily gave out their beautiful canoes to escort Madame Christa. When all the fishermen and Madame Christa were on the sea, that was the time the vehicles all were able to crank again. So the vehicles just walked all the way, drove all the way to dungeons, and Madame Christa, together with the fishermen, passed through the sea and went to the Cape Coast dungeons. They came out from the door of no return on the 31st day of July 1998, and the door was changed to the door of return. Not only in the Cape Coast dungeons, but all the forts and castles that existed in Ghana, because it is time to change the narrative. The following day being the 1st of August, that is where they were buried here. Fast forward to 2019. I'm sure you're the year of return celebration. So what is it about? The year of return celebration. Having the diaspora, having your brothers and sisters coming home. I think I would prefer that word than that diaspora and stuff. Okay, so you saw that they came in their numbers, right? They were coming and everywhere was choke everywhere. But do you know that their coming here was a prophecy that has been fulfilled? Yeah, it was a prophecy that has been fulfilled. Yes. The first documented slave ship landed in Virginia, Jamestown in 1619. 1619 all the way to 2019. When you do the maths, it's 400 years. Do you have a Bible on your phone? Yes. Hey. Yeah. Can you read Genesis chapter 15, verse 13 to 14?
Genesis what? Preach. Preach.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Genesis chapter 15, the verse 13 to 14. I read. Then the Lord said to Abraham, "You should know this. Your descendants will live in a country that is not their own. They will be strangers there. The people there will make them slaves and be cruel to them for 400 years." The 14. But then I will punish the nation that made them slaves. Your people will leave that land, and they will take many good things with them. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Okay, I go.
Amen.
I go. I go.
Amen.
Yes, so this is the prophecy. 400 years of enslavement, and after 400 years, the country that did that to them would God judge, and their people are going to come out with the greatest of substance. Whenever a prophecy has to come, something should prompt you to know the prophecy is closer. When you studied, when you check 2009, it was where the COVID came, right? But I'm not here to go into spirituality with you. So it is, let's take religion out of it. Yes. So,
Are we part of the Israelites?
we are not talking about Israelites for now. We are from the 12th tribe of Judah, but it's also another thing we'll talk about. I don't want to go more spiritual because you can see I have all religion represented, so let's all keep our religion. Yeah. So, in coming home, the Prime Minister of Barbados, led by Mia Motley, decided to bring home some of their ancestors' remains. So on the 11th of November, she brought a lot of them in a casket just for them to preserve it here, because the year of return is also for them to come home. The trade was abolished in 1808, but not slavery. With slavery, I don't know the date, because I am not an historian. Okay, I have my master's in human resource management. So I don't know about the date, but I only know what the book says. In the British colony was in 1835, French colony 1846, Brazil 1888, US was 1865. But for me, I don't believe slavery has ever been abolished. I don't believe that. I don't care what the Caucasians will throw at you. I don't care. My worry is what we throw to ourselves. Because today we have moved from slavery, chains and shackles to mental slavery. And that is why Bob Marley told us. Ourselves can free our mind. Maybe we are not African enough. Kuma told us, not because you're born African that makes you African. You are African when African is born in you. So we're going to go to the river, but first I'm going to hand over the microphone to our soon-to-be doctor.
All right, thank you very much, Kofi. Let me take a critical look at all these people. You are going to lose serious marks because you have not complied with the regulations. Right? And it's likely to affect all of you. Let me expressly express my displeasure at a couple of things that have taken place from 5 o'clock till now. I'm very uncomfortable, but this place is not the right place. Now, today, the African diaspora concept revolves around 3 key things. Number 1 is what? African diaspora concept in the 21st century revolves around 3 key things. Number 1. Number 1. Number 1. We have long passed there. No. The African diaspora concept revolves around three key issues. Issue number one, the voluntary and involuntary migration of Africans or dispersal of Africans globally across the world. I've given you a clue. Number one. Number two. Number two. Number three. Number three. The third again is the what? Physical and the what? And the what?
Mental.
Physical and the psychological return. We have passed there. The people you see buried here are evidence of what? Physical return, which goes beyond the people who are alive. A couple of African Americans every now and then are here. Today they are here. Those are also evidence of what? Physical return. And these people who were retained, their remains were retained. Retained through the gate of no return. To make that gate the gate of what? Return is the evidence of what? Physical return. We are going to go through the ancestral path that our ancestors walked. We don't go on that path with your shoes. We are all taking our shoes. If you will take it to stay around, we will go and come and tell you what we saw.
Okay.
You move down there, take off your shoes. I'll be the number one to take it off. Kofi has already taken his.
Asasia, once a year. At many mind. And so, Amisa, or say, non consio. So I try when you know, she and you know, Monsanier. Nanam Saman a more die, mean taboo. Now, if you know, Mudi and Nima about as I see so high, Monsanier. And I am Mofra, our more Disney from AUCC. You do them a bar now, I did you my soon, until my trying to tear the amount said. No more 2 hours, I must say, a bramha. I bet you and some of Cosso. No one would get a tomo, bramo bread. And then I want to mean yes, Jay. I quite to my Dabai. Bribia, my betty, when you know. The best dress of Bedu, my cheek. Not in summer, my tenor. And no Macumaso. No, Papa says, oh, my Yama, Munianum. No, Papa said, Yama, Biaro was as if you know. What much may I say, Madino? Almost I call which is swat. Mamma Jojo. The baby may be ano. Wow. Papa Mbra, Bonadia.
Okay, so basically, whenever we pour libation, at the end we say, may God's will be done. So we're going to walk straight to the river, and this is where, please, the river you see over there comes to this angle and curves over here and goes all the way to the coast. The name of this river is today Ama Emisa. Today is the day of Ama Emisa. So today, when you disturb Ama Emisa, she would also disturb you. The one at the left hand side, this river, which is getting its source from the township, became the non-consume, which literally means the slave river. When the capturers brought the captives in here, and they meet the two rivers like this, then they will use boat to wash them. But when it is flooded, they only use the non-consume. Why? Because the Ama Ebisa has a dash flow. The current is very strong, that if you are not careful and you try to pretend to cross, it will also pretend to carry you away. Just listen to the sound of the river. As lower as it is. So imagine if it's flooded. Whenever it gets flooded, nobody crosses over to go to farm because you cannot. But with the non-consume, it is always still stagnant and gentle. So because it was still, it was very easy to monitor the movement of the captives in here than in there. And that is the reason why they were made to take their last bath in the slave river.